in, the real world, outside of marketing lingo, what is that? So I have worked in the tech industry as a marketer my entire career. And as part of that, I usually do work in-house with a corporation. And on the side, I've always done marketing consulting. So what I generally do as a consultant is I go into, a lot of times it's a startup or another company that needs a little more direction in their marketing and help them set their marketing strategy. So I'll start from the very beginning, lay out where they think they want to go and get their, their buy off on it, tell them who they need to hire to get that off the ground, and then hang out with them for a while they get that built until I can just set them free, if you will. So.
Cool. And then I also learned that you were apparently involved in the creation of the first website for HP.
Yes. So you're not supposed to say that because now people are like, how old is she? Thanks a lot. Yeah, so again, I've been in this business for a long time. I went from Compaq to HP to HPE to HPE Software to Micro Focus, all kind of the same company, from spin mergers and buyouts and what have you. So I was there for a long time, and I was there from the very beginning when they came to me when I was just a little tech writer, and they said, there's this new thing called social media and everyone is going onto the web. You know how to write. Can you help do this? So yes, I did. I was part of the team that created that first website and kicked off their social media.
Awesome. So there's a lot of wisdom on this stage, no pun intended. Cool. Stephanie Pelaez?
Yes.
Perfect. You are a digital account executive at Pond, and actually I'm already getting thirsty. I'm thinking of a beer, which is going to happen later. What do you do? Who's Pond? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so Pierpont is a PR marketing agency. So, we do public relations, we do marketing, and my role there is primarily digital marketing. So I do everything in that realm from social media management, email marketing, paid campaigns like Google ads, LinkedIn ads, as well as website updates.
Awesome. So you're more involved in the tactical aspect of content marketing, what we're going to talk about here today. Correct. Let's get into this. And then if you guys have questions, please think about them, and maybe we'll open it up for questions. We'll take a few questions up here first, and then, let me know if you have questions. Content. Are we losing the art of storytelling in the race to optimize for algorithms? That's a big thing, right? These algorithms, they rule the world. Short form dominates many feeds these days, right? But the brands are still investing in long form storytelling. So, what is the role of long form storytelling? Where do you see long form content winning? And I think, why don't we start with you, Wisdom?
Sure. So obviously going back to that short form content, it's all over the place, right? I mean, every feed you're on, it's short form because it grabs your attention. But to answer the question, do I think long form is going away? I'm a storyteller. No. It's not going away. You need that long form content. So short form and long form, in my mind, are really complementary to each other. So long form content really shines when you need to build a deeper context. So when you have customers or when you have people that are already familiar with your brand, they're already familiar with your company or a product, that long form content is really going to bring them in. It's going to help establish authority. It's going to help explain those more complex concepts and create a stronger emotional connection. So where long form content really wins is going to be in thought leadership, right? Thought leadership is always going to be long form. It's going to be if you have some more detailed educational content where you need to just fill them in, or brand storytelling where you have that little bit of nuance, where you need to just give them a little bit more. So I think overall, when we're talking about that long form content, it really just allows for a thoughtful exploration of topics when your audience has already opted in.
Before we go to Stephanie, quick question. With the clients that you work with, are you is it more short or long form, or is it a mix?
It's a good mix because again, they're complementary. If you want that short form content, I honestly believe that you need to have that long form to append to it, right? Short form is good for certain things, but long form definitely has a place.
Awesome. Stephanie, what's your point? What's your take on this question?
Yeah, I like both, and honestly, it's not about either or, it's about how you strategically integrate both types, right? Because when you're creating content, you have to think about what is your purpose, what are you trying to achieve, right? And for me, I'm a TikTok girl. I absolutely love TikTok, and I'm so glad actually that they increased the length of how long your video can be, you know, because when we talk about short form content, that's like 30 seconds to a minute, right? And then when long form content is more like pushing 10 minutes, even 30 minutes. I love watching YouTube videos that are 30 minutes long, right? It could be about a documentary, about a specific thing in another country that all of a sudden just gauges my interest while I'm doing laundry, for example. But really, it's important for any brand, any company to use both and always think about like, what is my objective? What am I trying to achieve? Because on social media, oftentimes you will have short form content, right? You're just, I don't know, either following a trend, you know, either that's like the bucket challenge, a dance challenge, right? You're just trying to be a part of that. My favorite one is the Super Bowl halftime show. All the brands copying what happened with Kendrick Lamar and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's about strategically integrating both.
Yeah, so I completely agree. In my session before this, I spoke about generative engine optimization. Reality is that more people are using more platforms to consume more content.
Yes.
So search is increasing dramatically, right? Takes me to my next question. So my team, they actually make me record a weekly Friday SEO tip, short and sweet.
I love that.
Goes up on YouTube, and then our marketing manager creates short form videos. They get so many more views than the whole thing, where I put all my effort into creating the best tip on earth, right? So what is the role of short form video? Let's start with Stephanie.
Cool.
Yeah, the role of short form, let me think. So you could, like you mentioned before, you have the CEO tip weekly, right? So when it comes to social media for me, I always tell my clients, like, you're supposed to be educational, right? You're sharing information, important information that your audience is looking for. And with short form content, you know, as long as you can achieve the takeaway that you want your audience to grasp, you're good. You know, you have your hook, the main point, your action, and then the action that you want the audience to achieve.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And you said it's the hook. And that's how I think of short form video content as well, is it's really good if you're going to utilize it just for that hook to draw people in. So it's really good for reaching new audiences, which I believe your team is trying to do. Hey, here he is, and he's a real person, and this is what's behind the brand. So it's great for reaching new audiences to convey a single point, or it's really excellent for getting that quick emotional response because it's a quick, you know, attention capture. So it's great for that. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Awesome. So talking about formats, are you seeing particular content formats moving the needle more? There's more content than ever, but in your experience, what's actually driving engagement? It's what we actually care about. Like my clients, they care about results.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So engagement and conversions today, and what's the key to making it land? How do you make that happen? Like, how do you make engagement happen?
Right. I'm glad this is a question because Stephanie and I were just talking about this earlier, is I think where I'm really seeing a lot of engagement happen is in those formats that combine authenticity with utility, right? So an example of that is probably, so when you see a video that feels really candid, Like it just looks like it's shot off the cuff, right? But it's really delivering genuine value. So user-generated content, or when you have a collaborator, a content and a collaborator working together, they really drive results when they feel super authentic and not overly produced. So I think too, but Steph, this goes back to something that you were saying, is it's not really so much about the format, it's about relevance. Like you see so many people that are just pushing out all this content because they can, but you need content that's actually solving a problem or answering a question that someone has. You should never just be making content just to fill your content calendar, right? So it's about relevance. And then that does go back to the engagement. So yes, utility, but authenticity as well to get that engagement.
And then so I have a tip. So we're doing a lot of webinars. We recently, so we're using Zoom to host the webinar, and then we're connecting it to our YouTube channel. So it streams live to YouTube. We've seen incredibly more people watching the webinar and engagement, because I think YouTube pushes it out, it announces it, right? So that's really remarkable, great, we benefit greatly from that. Anything else to add?
Yeah, just to follow what Wisdom said, like quality and relevance always win.
Yeah.
100%. It's so important to map that content to specific stages of your customer journey. It really is. Just never just toss content out and hope for the best. That's just not how things should happen.
All right, so we're going to switch gears. Time's already running out here. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence. Any questions pertaining to content specific, or should we tackle questions? Yeah? Ladies first. Let's get the mic there so everybody can hear. And obviously you guys are going to stick around for a little bit after the session.
Of course.
Thank you. So I have a quick question I'd love to hear both of your answers, but it was when Wisdom was talking about using your long form content and then kind of cutting it down. But the question is, so a lot of times when you want to cut it down for the short form content, you mentioned the hooks as well, having a creative hook. How do you naturally encourage the people you're filming to work those into the conversations as you're filming this longer form content?
Right, no, that's a great question. And I can speak from experience on this too. So one of the companies that I worked for called 5-9, they're a CCAS company, I used to do at different events like this, do customer interviews. And these interviews often took quite a long time, well, not a long time, but they were like, 15 to 20 minute interviews. But that's way too long to be short form. So we wanted to find a way where we could utilize that. So we always started with a pre-written kind of intro that said, hi, I'm this person and this is this person. Why don't you give us a quick introduction on who you are? And we do that. And then we'd say, we're going to talk about blah, 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 right? And then we take a little pause, and then we continue talking. So we were able to crop that first part to make that hook video that we would put out everywhere, and then we could use the CTA of, if you want to learn more, do this, or learn more from watching the full video, or what have you. So that's a great question.
Yeah, to add to that, Pierpont actually hosted a webinar last year about crisis communications, and our SVP, Chris Jones, he was on there, and the webinar was about 40 minutes long, and of course we wanted to create social content out of that, and he was asked a variety of different questions from different things, and looking at the video, I actually assigned an intern to create social snippets out of that. And what she would do, she would just replay it over and over. And she's like, okay, he just said something, like one line that's really important. I'm gonna just take that out and then just continue on with what he was saying afterwards. So really keying in on quotes that are just great, you can just start from there.
Yeah, my question is going back to what you had just mentioned for authenticity and utility. I agree that a lot of the content that does get a lot of engagement is that authentic, kind of raw, not overly produced. But I know that obviously we're probably running up against a lot of businesses that are very polished and are very buttoned up. And so how do you get over that hump? Because right now you're like, for example, the brand may be very polished and buttoned up and professional, and you're gonna go tell your board, hey, I know this is weird, but I kind of need you to just like do a selfie while you're walking down the hall, you know, like, so how do you get over that?
I love that. We were talking about that too. That's so funny. So you guys have some great questions. It's hard, right? In certain verticals, it's really difficult to get them to break that mold and just be a little more personable and be a little more relaxed. But that's what customers need, and that's often what they want. So I think the best way to do this is, hey, I know this is awkward, but we want to do some A/B testing to see what's going to work. That's really what's going to really resonate with our customers. So try that. That's worked for me in the past, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that out as something you should try.
Yeah, I actually have a recent new account. It's actually a data center company, and I help do their social media management. But one of their members actually does the copywriting. I just, help with scheduling, uploading posts. And when I first started on the account and I was looking through their older posts, I was like, their personality is very different from other data industries, and that makes them stand out. Like, they post memes related to data center technology stuff. I'm like, this is so creative, this is so out of the box, this is how you stand out in the whole realm of other competitors and so forth.
Question back there?
Yeah, my question is kind of similar. How to keep the balance between being, relevant and authentic, but also entertaining, especially when you have like, when your audience is kind of a little bit more stern, like the tech world and stuff. So how to keep that balance?
It's a fine line. Would you agree?
Yes, I agree.
It's a really fine line. I believe at every company there are those people, even in a more buttoned up formal company, there are always going to be people that are willing to do the more fun brand awareness options. And I think it's really important. So how do you get them to do it? You just have to try. And I know that's probably that's kind of a lame answer, right? But you need to show them. Another good way to do this is look at competitors. If there are competitors that are doing that, that's something really good to bring to the table and say, hey, this is where our competitors are in this space, and this is how they're taking action on these trends. So why don't we give this a shot too? So generally, when you can say a competitor is doing it, people are more apt to try something, because if it works for someone, it might work for you too. But it's always nice to break out of that shell. We are living in a different time, right? Where we really want to be able to make that connection with our customers and to be able to loosen up and see the real people that work at these brands, the real people that work at these companies. That does a lot for your brand awareness. It really does.
Yeah, I just want to quickly add, when you're going to try something new, and especially me, like I'm a junior person, right? So I have to get it approved and get it approved. You have to also go back to what is your brand guidelines?
Yes.
What's your brand voice? Because you want to be consistent in your content. So if you're going to go one way, yes, you can A/B test, but like you need to be consistent, right? You have to be aligned with your brand guidelines, your brand voice, because you have other people, like other employees. For example, like I represent Pierpont, right? So when I'm posting content, it needs to be aligned with our values and that sort of thing. So that's something you should consider.
Yeah, definitely get approval. Like, don't go do something and get in trouble and say, well, the Stephanie said that I should do it. Yeah, let's not do that.
So I got in trouble by my wife because I just wear t-shirts. I'm in Boulder, right?
Yeah.
At best, a t-shirt. So I would wear the Mickey Mouse t-shirt, and eventually my wife talked to me. It's like, you probably should wear a shirt, look professional, right? So I guess you have to pay attention to how you present yourself as well.
You know, it's a little bit important.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. So switching gears, we're already running out of time here. We've got 20 minutes left. Artificial intelligence. All right. Since we are a little bit older than Stephanie, we probably know nothing about AI, right?
Oh,
it's
nothing.
just for young people.
Oh, of course.
No, so we spoke about this before, right?
Yeah.
It's a thing that impacts everybody on Earth, and there's no like you're young and you get it, or you're old and you get it, or you don't get it, right? So I'd love to know, Stephanie, how are you typically using AI day to day? Just give us the big picture overview.
Yeah.
Like, how do you use AI?
Yeah, AI is my co-creator. So I run paid campaigns for our clients, and generally I'll start there for generating ideas for copywriting, headlines, that sort of thing. I also use AI for drafting landing page copy. What are the key words that I need to make sure that that's included, that's aligned with my ad copy, that sort of thing. But yeah, I absolutely love AI. But something I know that's very important is, you know, it's a start, but it's not the final finished product, you know. It's a great place for research, ideation, brainstorming, and it honestly accelerates my marketing work every day.
So, like about 6 months ago, we started an AI task force at my company. We're tiny, we're less than 20 people. AI was used all over the place. Everybody used it differently, right? Do you guys have guidelines? Like how,
Yes, we
how big
do.
is your company and what are the guidelines?
Yeah, so our company size is between 11 to 50 people. Oh, I say 11 to 50. It's actually close to 50. I'm
According
like
to
thinking
LinkedIn,
of LinkedIn. Yeah, it's small, mid-size. But we do have an AI policy. I believe we started that a year or two ago. Everyone had to sign, and our incoming interns have to review and sign that as well. We are not allowed to use anything outside of the technology. We're a Microsoft-based company,
Oh, okay.
so we can only use like Copilot.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to use GPT or any of the other ones. So unless you have GPT Premium Plus, which then your chat is protected, right? You have privacy, because privacy rights is very important, you know? And because we're sometimes dealing with sensitive client information, we don't want that leaking out in the world, right?
Right.
So that's why we strictly only use Copilot.
Awesome.
Right.
Wisdom.
So for me, if you would have asked me this question, you know, 4 months ago, it would have been very different. So right now, I actually have, you know, I'm a consultant, but I'm looking to get back in the workforce. So right now, my daily use is taking my base resume, and when I'm applying to a new position, asking AI to align my base resume with the key terms in the job requisition that I'm looking at. So yes, I have like a million different versions of my resume with different key terms in them, yes. But prior to that, when I was working at my last company, I used it daily for content ideation, for research assistance, for editing. I find that it's exceedingly invaluable for generating outlines and first drafts of anything, simply because it really helps summarize that info. And then we were talking about this earlier too, is that, you know, as a content creator, when you're actually doing writing, you come into writer's block sometimes, right? I mean, you're working on this piece, you get writer's block. It's been really helpful for me to drop in that draft that I have and ask, here's this draft, where does this look like it's leading? You know, what would come next? So then even if it's not something that I was looking, if it's not a journey that I wanted to take that research paper on or that thought leadership piece, it's actually giving me ideas and it helps your brain start turning again. So it can be really practical when you're creating these, you know, long form storytelling pieces of content.
So going back to, so we started an AI task force, which I highly recommend every business should do, where you meet once a week, you talk about everything AI related, new tools, processes. So we're actually taking a look at everything that we do at my company, everything, okay?
Wow.
And we're going to try to automate as much as we can, because it's going to make us more efficient, more competitive. We can do more in less time with less people, sadly. How does that look at Stephanie, your company? Like, how much are you guys currently automating with AI? Like, are you behind, or where do you want to get to? Like, what does automation look like at your company?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm particularly in the digital department, which is very small, and majority of my peers, they're doing public relations, they're pitching, drafting press releases. But in terms of automation for me on the digital side, I use it a lot for marketing dashboards and reports because I have to analyze a lot of data when it comes to campaign performance. And I've created a dashboard for every single client that I help, and it honestly makes the process so much easier. So I use like Looker Studio, I connect API add-ons and stuff like that, and I'll have various different channels showing results on the same dashboard, and clients really appreciate that because they're able to take that dashboard and present it to their peers, to their bosses, and so forth.
You're ahead of the game. I talk to a lot of marketers. Like, you're definitely ahead of the game, right? Yeah. That's the way to do it.
I think so too. I mean, it's really good for generating those tasks that follow clear patterns all the time, where you don't need that human interaction or that human looking over it. So anything that is just repetitive, it's great. I love that you use it for doing like reports. I think that's one of the best uses for it, because who loves doing reports? No one.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to the next section in a second here. Any questions about AI? I know it's a very brief section here. Any questions about AI, use of AI? All right. We spoke a lot about AI at this conference.
She has one.
Question.
I forgot I wrote it down before you guys even got to this section. I was wondering, I keep hearing rumors and rumblings about being dinged for use of AI, and so I'm sure everyone's going to leave here and create a content farm with all of our AI stuff, and we're going to start posting them. And is it a thing where the Facebooks or the Instagrams or the LinkedIns of the world are going to be like, I know this is AI garbage, so no, I'm actually going to start downgrading you in the algorithm. Is that a thing, or did I just make it up?
Go.
Were you in my session before? Yeah. Okay, so when Avis did this bad thing to me, that post that I put up on LinkedIn was primarily generated by AI. I just told it what happened. I fed it all the information. I put that thing up in no time. 1 day, #1 in Google for Avis damage scam. So that's just my experience, and that was like 9 months ago. You guys were not here. I had a bad experience with a rental car company. Yeah. So I know it worked for me. Like, what are your thoughts? I know a lot of people, they're primarily using AI to generate social media content. Do you care if the stuff ranks? I mean, what's the shelf life of a tweet or a Facebook post?
I always think of Twitter. I will not call it X, I'm sorry. But I always think of Twitter as like the 6-lane highway of content, right? It just moves so fast. You really don't see it. I think that's one of the benefits of using AI, is when you have to create, again, using Twitter for an example, that's one of the best ways to utilize AI, is when you have to create a bunch of social posts. Like, think about this event, right? It's here today, it's somewhere else 2 days from now, and then it's going to be somewhere else. I mean, it has a million dates. How many tweets do they have to create for this thing, right? So that's a perfect use of AI. To put in the dates, to put in the city, to put in what this is, and say, hey, please create 20 different tweets. That's good. Do you know how long it used to take me to create 20 different tweets for something? And then you're like, oh my gosh, I created 5. What else can I possibly say? Okay, yeah, so this is great. But you still need a human to look at it because it's still going to mess up. So you still need someone to review it because you don't want to just put it out there and just, cross your fingers and say, oh, it must be right because AI did it. That's not how that works, right? So that's a perfect example of that.
Stephanie?
Yeah, honestly, when I see AI generated content, like, it's obvious.
You can tell.
Yeah, there are telltale signs, and I'm pretty sure you don't have to be a marketer to even tell that it was AI generated.
I will fight you on that one.
And I believe on TikTok, maybe Instagram, there's a small text that says like, oh, this was AI generated to tell, the viewer like, hey, this isn't real, because I would say, if you're addicted to social media, you can get lost in the reality, and that's very unfortunate. And I'm like deviating away now.
That's why we have bullet points.
Yes, yes. But yeah, I like her example about if you have to have 20 tweets, just use AI, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about AI and content. So is AI generated content a game changer or a creativity killer? And you've all seen explosive growth in AI generated content. Where do you draw the line between useful automation and creative compromise? And obviously there's many different forms of content, right?
Yes.
There's written, there's video, audio, etc. Like we tested HeyGen at my company where, somebody filmed me and then they created a virtual Chris.
Crazy.
Oh my God, my wife hated it. Again, so my wife, she doesn't work for the business, but she has a lot of common sense. So I usually ask her and then I go with her opinion.
As you should.
So we killed it.
Smart man.
So to me, that's one of these examples, right? Where do you draw the line? I mean, it's such a gray area that we're living in. Where do you draw the line?
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
I think too, yes, AI is definitely a game changer. It definitely is. But is it a creativity killer? I wouldn't say it's a creativity killer. I would say it's a creativity enabler. So it does enable it. But I think the line that you're talking about really comes down to the intention and the application of it and how they're using it. So to me, I think the line is definitely crossed when you have brands that are utilizing AI to basically just churn and burn. Like they are just pushing stuff out, and there is no human oversight. That's a line right there. We're using AI and it's great. Let's enable it to use for ourselves and to help with our creativity, but we need to keep that human element involved for strategy, for emotional resonance. If you're just using AI to, again, churn and burn stuff, you are missing all of that emotional resonance that human element brings in. And you need to utilize humans for those final editorial decisions. So AI should, I guess to wrap this up before I get on a soapbox, AI should amplify human creativity, but not replace it.
So on that point, Stephanie, before I let you answer, so I'm extremely lazy, For somebody like me, AI could be a killer, right? It could kill my business. So I realized you actually have to put in a little bit of effort. We put in a lot of effort right now, right? For somebody younger, my kids, they use AI straightforward. Like, how do you deal with this? Yeah.
Yeah, I follow everything that Wisdom said. It's a game changer for sure. And it comes down to your prompt engineering, because if you don't practice that, and there are a lot of examples out there, like there are hundreds of templates that you can find, but you have to practice all the time. You have to get better at it, because if you don't feed the right information the exact way, the specific way that you want it, then you're obviously gonna not want to use it anymore, then you'll think like, oh, this actually doesn't help me anymore. So you always have to try different ways, ask your peers, ask your colleagues and so forth, like, what's another way for me to communicate what I'm trying to achieve?
Right.
Just a quick example. So we built a system called BSM Copilot, an AI agent. I finally realized that I do have to spend, I took like 6 days to create prompts that I took to my business partners that build me a tool. I was like, it was not the funnest 6 days that I did, but man, it's groundbreaking, right? So I think that's how you should use AI. If you do it, like, use it the right way.
I agree with that, because I think we were talking earlier too, and you had brought this up about, does it really save time or is it a bottleneck? And I think AI does save time, but what it does is it moves that bottleneck from production to discernment. Because even if you're utilizing AI to do a part of your job that you used to do, now you just have to reallocate your time. AI is going to do all this for you and you don't, yay. But now you have to reallocate your time, because now you need to go through and you need to refine it. You need to fact check. You need to add that human element to it.
Awesome. You actually answered my question here that
Just
I had.
went right into that.
Why don't we got about 3 minutes. Stephanie, what are the new skills you and your teams are learning right now with AI content and all that?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to about the prompt engineering, because when you have to figure out like, okay, how do I convey what I'm trying to say, that also really stimulates your brain on how you're communicating with your client and other people, trying to explain a problem that you're trying to solve. Like, that really puts critical thinking on. And like I mentioned before, a lot of my peers, they draft press releases, they're pitching, and I know that each of them, they will use AI to tweak their pitches based on each reporter, for example. So in that case, that is a huge time saver for them.
I think I agree with Steph. It's going to be prompt engineering. I think that's going to be added to a lot of content roles, is prompt engineering. I think strategic thinking, which you also said, AI workflow, and something that I think is really important, and it's a huge topic that's going to be coming to all teams, I believe, is ethical considerations around using AI.
Awesome. So I have a few lightning round questions, but they're all about AI. I'm going to change that up. Real quickly answer.
Sure.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Cats.
Beer or wine? Or long drinks?
I like both.
Wine, red.
All right. Beach or mountain?
Beach.
Beach.
All right. If you had to take one AI tool to a deserted island, what tool would you bring?
Honestly, ChatGPT.
ChatGPT?
Claude.
Claude? Awesome. We have 1 minute left. Maybe you have 1 or 2 questions. Anything else?
I do have a follow-up question.
Awesome.
I wanted to just circle back to the first question I asked about your buttoned up brand going into more authentic. The issue that I'm having isn't so much getting the buy-in. I'm very lucky to have a board that's like, sure, we'll try it. It's more so of like the drastic shift from like the look and feel. Because if you look at what we currently post and then you start doing more authentic, less polished things, it's going to be a stark difference. And so do you just do it and hope that the audience gets it? Or I'm so scared, basically. I want you to hold my hand. I want you to hold my my hand is what I'm saying.
It's all scary. You can call us and we'll hold your hands when you do this. Do you want to take that?
We have 30
Sure.
seconds.
Go.
Okay, so honestly, I would recommend slowly integrate it. Don't just like all of a sudden change night and day. It goes back to what we mentioned before about A/B testing. See how that post performs, how the engagement is. But you have to really, really know your audience. Like, if you know that they're not gonna like that thing, then don't really go with it.
Cool. No, I agree. And I think too, it really depends on where your customers are sitting. Are they all on LinkedIn? If it's a buttoned up company, probably. The majority of your customer base, prospects are probably sitting on LinkedIn. So maybe you want to try it on one of your channels where a lot of your traffic isn't living. And just see how it goes, see how the engagement goes on there, see what kind of response you get from that. But I am a huge, huge A/B tester. But I also believe in change. So you just have to balance that. Get your buy-in, make sure you're sticking to the brand look and feel, but just give it a little bit of oomph. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was amazing.
Thank you
I had a
guys so
blast.
much. Thank you.
You guys are sticking around, so if anybody has questions,
Sure, of course.
please,
Of course.
look them up. Thank you so much. That was awesome.
Thank you. It was
Yay.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.